Welcome to another video from Demystifying Proposals. In this video, we're going to talk about how the government evaluates the proposals that government contractors submit. How do they score beyond the evaluation criteria? So when we're talking about proposals, we talk about compliant and responsive and compelling. The government, that doesn't mean anything to them. That's not information that they don't think that way, except for compliance. They do actually think about compliance. So one of the first things that they're going to do when they sit down to evaluate your proposal is they're going to look at the proposal instructions. They're going to look at your proposal and they're going to make sure that you've addressed everything they've asked you to address in the way that they've asked you to address it. If you have something that's non-compliant, you will generally be kicked out of any further review. And then they will divide the proposal between a technical evaluation panel and a cost evaluation team. The technical evaluation panel reviews any proposals that are considered compliant against the evaluation criteria, that is Section M. So prior to the kickoff of the TEPS meeting, the TEP chair will create a technical evaluation score sheet that the TEP will use to document their assessment of the proposal. And they'll use the evaluation criteria to develop that score sheet. So this is part of why we say proposals are scored and not read. So the score sheet is the statement of work requirements, the proposal instructions, and the evaluation criteria. So they look at all of those things. And then each member of the team will do an evaluation, and then they'll come together and they'll come up with an overall score for each proposal across the technical evaluation panel. And then that contracting officer will use those evaluations as the basis for their source selection document. The cost evaluation panel reviews the cost proposals for things like cost realism and risks and any assumptions that the offerer may have made in developing their cost pricing. So their process is different, but in parallel to the technical evaluation panel. So in the government evaluation, they use terminology strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. We generally use the terminology of like win themes and discriminators. They're kind of the same thing, but it's important that you understand how the government actually scores proposals. And we've been trying to sort of shift away from win themes into strengths. So most technical and management approaches are evaluating, like I said, based on strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. The proposal's goal is to have as many significant strengths as possible and as few weaknesses as possible. So strengths are things that the government sees as reasons to hire this particular company, right? So they can come from your win themes or they can come from your features and benefits, right? What's the features of our solution and what are the benefits to the customer, to the TEP for doing that work the way that we're going to do it? Or they come from a really clear and structured approach, right? We're going to do X, we're going to do Y, we're going to do Z. It's very easy for the government to follow how you're going to do the work, and it's very clear and structured. And then strengths can also come from your proof points. Where have you done this work before? And what was the outcome? If the outcome was super good, you got really good, excellent CPARs, or you were able to save X amount of money, or you were able to do the work that much faster. All of those things are proof points, and those can be seen as strengths as the government is evaluating your proposal. Weaknesses come from things that are unsubstantiated, unclear, and undefined. So if you make a claim that you're the world's best at something, you better be able to prove that you're actually the world's best at something. Otherwise, it just falls flat. It becomes an unsubstantiated claim, and it might end up as a weakness. If your solution is not clear, if the government can't figure out how to get from X to Y to Z, then they may not be able to understand what your solution actually is. And that'll be a weakness. And the same thing with an approach, right? If you're particularly like on a management side, right? If you are not presenting your management approach in a clear way, they've asked you to talk about how you're going to manage the team. Maybe there's lots of different elements to the team. There's lots of different tasks, and different people are going to be doing different things at different times. If you can't present a management approach that clearly explains how that's going to happen, that could be a weakness. Now, deficiencies are the worst version of weaknesses. So you can have a significant weakness, and then you can have a deficiency. And a deficiency means that it's just they can't see anything good. And one deficiency can kill a proposal's chance of winning. So you really want to make sure that you have significant strengths, really good win themes, features and benefits, clear approaches, proof points. And then you want to avoid saying anything that is unclear, unsubstantiated, undefined, so that you hopefully don't have many weaknesses or any weaknesses, and certainly no deficiencies. So this slide presents how the government actually defines those terms. So I used them on the previous slide. I didn't define them, but this is actual definitions from an actual evaluation, right? So strength is an aspect of an offer's proposal that has merit or exceeds the specified performance or capability requirements, right? So it's more than just what they asked you for. It takes it to a little bit higher level. A weakness is a flaw in the proposal that increases the risk, right? So the government is always looking at, will this offer be able to do the work, and will they be able to do it well? Because that's what they need. They need you to do the work. And if you can't do the work well, then there's a risk to them that you're going to be unsuccessful. And that's not a good thing for anybody. And then deficiency is just a material failure. So you were uncompliant, non-compliant, you have a lot of significant weaknesses, and that can lead to a high risk of failure. And they just can't get past that, and they feel like your performance is probably going to be unacceptable. Thank you for listening to our video. If you learned something, please hit the thumbs up to like this video. Subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to be notified of future videos.